You know, it is so exciting for me to be able to be here, and I tell you all the time that I'm very humble to be in front of you because, Training Ground, the training group who has put on this weekend for the 13th time. Tom Brown and his team and all of you as neighbors just have so much to be proud of, and we are very proud of you. So I'm just excited to be here to talk about from Mandela to Martin, and then from Martin to Mandela. The vision of Dr. King was never in the name of just one man or one mission. It was a test of strength and courage for a collective lot of people, all vying to reclaim the fabric of their country. Their insatiable thirst for justice could never be quenched by just one river or by one stream of ideology. We know it took a common cause by countless men and women of all races, creeds, and colors to burn the barricades of bigotry and bridge impossible divides, as is the case with all embattled pursuits of what is just. And we know it was not easy. It was a pursuit riddled with false starts and bitter disappointments. It was a dream continuously deferred, even after landmark legislation and legal precedence was on our side. But one need not look any further than to the diversity of faces that now make up not only audiences like this, but playgrounds of our schools, communities in our neighborhoods, the pews of our churches, and the boardrooms of booming enterprises, to appreciate the legacy our ancestors of change bequeathed to this nation. So although we are here to celebrate that very dream and that very symphony of justice, whose overtures unshackled us from generations of discrimination, perhaps the most profound lesson impacted by Dr. King is that our work is yet to be finished. So because while the long arc of history has been toward what is right, we talk often about racism still persists, and we see it. We see inequality has yet to be overcome, and we see the clenched fist of oppression continues to beat down on the hearts and minds of people in far too many corners of the world. So Dr. King's message of love and tolerance and equality is not just universal, but it's also timeless, just as today as it was 5 decades ago. So all over the world, today our youth are taking up the baton of civic engagement. So though forever children in our eyes, they are indeed young men and women with an eye towards building a world free of social ailment. They are springing up against dictatorships and occupying the excesses of corporate inequalities. They are insisting upon a stronger respect for our environment, and yes, the young people are challenging the status quo of bitter partisanship. I had a first-hand seat to be able to see this type of work, and we all have seen this firsthand challenged by our young people all over the world. We see it on TV nightly, but now we see it on our handheld devices minute by minute. And these young people are fighting for freedom. They're fighting for economic opportunity. They're fighting for justice. But more importantly, they're fighting to be heard. And we are hearing them. We have to hear them. And we saw it in South Africa. And in seeing it in South Africa, we saw a man free, become free after 27 years. And you could see the jubilation on the faces of all the people when he came out of prison. And then we were able to see that jubilation right here in America when he came to the United States to thank the Americans, especially African Americans and all citizens, for the fight to help the South African people in apartheid. I see that fight on the faces of our young people in our city who are vying for what is right about educational opportunity. I see that fight in the young people and the young minds and the parents who are fighting for good paying jobs and for all to have affordable housing options. And I see in their eyes their desires to make sure that leadership leads with integrity, accountability, and openness in our government. So we must protect all of our civil rights. And that's why we're here today, in that celebration of knowing that right here in our own community, that we have to fight to safeguard our government. We have to fight to make sure that everyone knows that voting is still important. We have to fight to make sure that we continue to enforce our employment laws and hiring practices. But we must also fight to protect the rights of those who have paid their debts to society and are returning to their communities. And we have to fight for our young men and women, and especially our African American boys, who are making sure that they are not unjustly accused and unjustly stopped and frisked. We want to make sure that because of Dr. King, we continue that fight. You know, I had the opportunity afforded to me that generations of young people, and especially African Americans, had before me. I had an opportunity to integrate my school in the 7th grade. You know, when my parents came to me and asked me to make that choice, I made that choice, not just for myself and my family, but also for my community. And it was that choice of integration back then, as a 13-year-old, that I then went on, with the help of my family and friends and neighbors, to make sure that I got a great college education and was able to also then earn a law degree. And for someone like myself, as a daughter of the South, little did I know that I would also have the opportunity to then go on and come to Washington, D.C., and to work for the President of the United States. Not only once, but twice. I know, and before that, I am so proud to have been able to work as the principal staff person for the final passage of the Dr. Martin Luther King bill. But when I was asked to lead the National Center for Nelson Mandela when he visited the United States for the first time following his imprisonment, I knew it was an honor that it was not just for me. It was one for us as Americans, and it was one for us as a community. And so I do not take for granted a single day of knowing that it was because of his dream, and dreams like people of Nelson Mandela, that I have been able to do the things that I have done. I think it is that dream that brings all of us here today, and we can look into our own lives and point to things that make sure that because of the work that they did, that we're all standing here today. But we know one thing, that that work is not finished. We must continue to live his dream each and every day. We must continue to lift up and support our young people and their aspirations to greatness, because there is greatness in every child. And every mom knows it, every dad knows it, and they tell them. My mom didn't just tell me, we know that the women and men in this room tell their kids that every single day. And we must continue to tackle inequalities, and inequalities wherever we see them. Whether, I said again, it's in housing or fighting for good paying jobs, or making sure that our kids have good public schools to attend. But we most importantly have to continue to fight for fairness and opportunity and justice. Our fight is not over, and that's why we're here today, continuing to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King as well as Nelson Mandela, because it's the unending legacy to make our world a better place, that both of them knew that if we do it together, if we do it as a community, if we do it not worried about who is going to get the credit, we're going to make sure that we continue to lift up our community as we lift up ourselves and our neighbors. Thank you, and God bless you.